Okay, I think we can start. Dr. Mazin, if you're good to start.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Let me double check. I see a lot of people.
Yeah,
Rick,
we'll just do a little introduction and then, yeah, we can hear you clearly, Dr. Mazin.
Perfect.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good evening to everyone. I don't know where is everyone coming from, but if ever there are others who are not coming from our region, then that's a good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you all for joining us and welcome to the PMI UAE Chapters webinar entitled Disrupting the Labor Market, Liberating the Future Workforce from Corporate and VUCA Slavery. This will be delivered by our esteemed speaker, Dr. Mazin Gadir. My name is Irene Corpus. I am part of the events management team of the PMI chapter, and I will be your moderator for tonight. Be with me as well is brother, Mr. Amir Ali, who's handling the logistics for this webinar. Before I introduce our speaker, I would like to introduce the flow of our webinar. First, I will be giving a brief introduction about the PMI chapter, which is especially important for the first-time attendees. Then after, I will hand you over to Dr. Mazin after introduction about him. Or do I still need an introduction, Doctor? Following his presentation, which will run for 45 minutes, we will have a short time for Q&A, where Dr. Mazin and I will do our best to accommodate all the questions within the time frame. We encourage you to post your thoughts on the chat and interact with us to make the webinar a conversational and engaging one. In regard to your questions, please post them in the Q&A, and I will also give a heads up to Dr. Mazin as to how much question we are expecting. So, Doctor, you can also manage your time in responding to them. Okay, so before we proceed, please allow me to give a little introduction of the PMI UAE chapter. Okay. The PMI was founded in 1969 by a group of working project managers. 50 years after, PMI is now the source and resource for all things about the project management. Our chapter's vision is to empower and influence individuals with the innovative project economy principles to turn ideas into a reality. And our chapter's mission is to disrupt and create value-driven to our chapter members and partners to become agile, innovative, productive in the platform for the growth of the project economy. Our chapter is run by 100% volunteers, and we are ranked top 5 among the PMI EMEA region. We are all dependent on you, our volunteers, in order to make our chapter activities as interactive and invigorating as possible. Recently, we had our board of directors election, and here is our PMI UAE chapter board of directors headed by Mr. Adil Sultan, our president. PMI membership and benefits include digital access to the PMBOK and other PMI library standards, community access project management, certification discounts up to 30%, exclusive members only event attendance, access to PMI standards, PMI Picks and Career Navigator, and of course, a lot of tools and templates, publications, reports, and surveys. As PMI UAE chapter, you will benefit from networking, learning and knowledge sharing, career growth through certification, tutorial, career growth programs, and various events such as this one, diversified webinars, where you can also network and connect with the attendees. We are proud to have our silver sponsors, Dubai Properties and Miraz, and also a lot of collaboration partners. This were a lot also as led and handed over by Dr. Mazin. You can see how much effort he did for our chapter. And for you attendees, you will have 2 strategic PDU units. This will all be added in your profile. Please wait up to 4 weeks. And if you don't receive it, please email us at info@pmiuae.org. Engage with the panelists through chat and Q&A, And please finish the webinar so you can receive your PDs. If you haven't done so, please follow us on our social media channel, PMI UA chapter in LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Okay, so please, it's time to introduce our esteemed speaker. Dr. Mazin Gadir is an external advisor for healthcare government ministries and authorities with responsibility for health and digital strategy development, implementation, execution, and transformation. He has a wealth of interest and expertise, being a health informative futurist, quantum physicist, keynote speaker, value-based transformation researcher, digital health, deep tech enthusiast, Web3 ambassador, metaverse, blockchain, NFT, nanotechnology, big data. Oh, it's like name it, and Dr. Mazin will be able to guide you through it. He is also the Director of Partnership, Client Relationship, and Bid Management at IQVIA Payer Provider Government Group. He is working currently on a postdoctoral research on value-based care and digital health transformation in collaboration with University of North Florida and Angel Kids Pediatrics. I have always been saying from the start, who doesn't know Dr. Mazin, our ex-director for the PMI UAE chapter's outreach. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our speaker, Dr. Mazin Gadir. On to you, Doctor.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Irene. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, morning, and evening. I don't know where you guys calling from, but let's find out. And maybe with the help of Slido, as you always know, I love Slido. Let's get started with a bit of an exercise. So you guys can see my screen. I'm starting my timer.
Yes,
okay.
We do, Doctor.
So my timer is on as well, Irene, so I'm keeping an eye on that. But I wanna get everybody to jump in on slido.com and actually I'll actually post. Let me post also the link. So let me get you share the link. So I'll get the link into the chat so people can actually directly jump onto this session. So please take the link, share your thoughts. I want to know which city are you calling in from? City, okay? And I'll also hope maybe Irene and Amir, gratitude and thanks to my colleagues and sisters and brothers who are volunteering for PMI UAE chapter. I want to welcome the new board to take this amazing chapter to the next level, and I'm very confident in their capabilities and ability to you know, bring in more and more exciting activities and collaboration. I also want to thank all the old board members who have actually done a great job to build this, not just the previous one and the one before it and the one before it. So the last, I think, 10 years, all the volunteers and board members who've contributed and the members who've contributed to the success of this great chapter. Please do join us. Keep your amazing work and participation in. I'm a big fan of what you do, and I'm always going to be a big fan of this great community. Okay, so I'm seeing really good. I know we have around 100 plus participants. I'm getting around 53. Very good. I'm getting Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Abu Dhabi. I have Riyadh. Very good. Wow, I have like Fanstrat. I don't know where that is, but that's a fantastic. It's a good you know, name for a city. There is also Kuwait. I have Canada. Okay, Al Ain. Perfect. So I think it seems like there is good interaction. So I will come back to this question because I want to start my slides with, first of all, thanking you for joining us today. Again, the title is a little bit this. I've always thought about this title somehow, and I want to thank again the team and I guess Anjana for also giving me the opportunity to bring this and present along with Julie and the rest of the amazing team who have been also always eager to listen in and share ideas and thoughts. So let me, and the events team, by the way, so well done on that. So again, the title is very intriguing and very provocative. And the idea is to actually get you thinking. How do you prepare yourself to the future workforce? You know, and I think part of the being the workforce of the future is to start thinking about how you are becoming comfortable with the insecurity of changing jobs, right? And this is very important aspect. There was a very good seminar just before this one, and it was orchestrated by PMI and Brightline Research Institute, where Antonio was talking about change is normally favorable, or change should be done when you are at your best performance, your best. If an organization is doing so well, that's when change should happen. Change should not just be left till crisis take place. Okay, so again, and that is in line with what we are talking about. The session before this was very good. Brightline Research Institute is an amazing institute, and they have a really number of good webinars. It's a fantastic initiative by Project Management Institute in collaboration with an amazing number of research entities. Moving on. I can see the CTEs. I have around 60 participants, so well done. I'm gonna come back to the question because I'm gonna ask about a very critical question in just a moment using Slido. So what I want to share with you is that it's a long journey of learning, and it's an endless journey, by the way. We always continue to strive to learn and educate ourselves and update our skills and competencies. And this is one important way of securing our insecurities when it comes to tackling our insecurities, right? How do you actually create a secure future as we are being disrupted continuously? Industries are being disrupted. You've been hearing a lot about the recent and continuous economic turbulence that we are going through. So how do we continue sailing through all this turbulence? And I'll come back to this as we go through some of the most important lessons learned and experiences. And this is just a bit of the background of the work that I've done in the previous 23 years that I've been working on. My background, I'm an electrical engineer by background. I came into quantum physics to try and do my research in nanotechnology and quantum electronics. Then I jumped into healthcare head on after doing my master's in management and business studies, from which then I kind of gathered and I kept learning and moving in different roles from private sector to public sector. The field that I've been always working in, or the industry that I really fell in love with, is healthcare. So let me give you a bit of introduction. And I always start with this slide because this slide gives me a comfortability, or the comfort of saying that it's no longer, we call it transformation, it's actually acceleration, right? If you're a big novelist or you read a lot of novels, especially in the area of digital, Dan Brown is a big writer in the area of artificial intelligence, and he's been always pushing the envelope with the latest ideas, from Digital Fortress to the Da Vinci Code to Angels and Demons. And some of his novels have been actually turned into movies. I definitely advise you to remember some of that, because as we are breaking the barriers when we look at technological advancements, we are also struggling to keep up with the skill set, okay? So keep that in mind. We always keep, for example, culture eats strategy for breakfast, but don't forget that, you know, culture is also drives operational excellence. So you master your culture, you master your operations, and you bridge the gap between strategy, design, and implementation. So I thought of this because the previous webinar that Brightline has actually came up with, they brought in some speakers from BCG to talk about the why for digital transformation and what we call the rise of biological organizations. And again, I wanted to share with you that publication is free for all to open up and actually reference if you like, but they talk about this power of biological organizations, how organizations are trying to transform themselves to be people first. And again, we are seeing a lot of turbulence in the economies at the moment and a lot of obviously redundancies in the labor market, but I think there is a lot of hope as well in the near future. So that's why I wanted to bring this in. There is a number of around 10 different questions that this publication by BCG was asking, and how to pivot from a normal organization, a conventional organization, to a biological organization. And that's what we call the paradigm shift, right? And these are some of the questions that will impact your strategy and implementation as an organization. So maybe to start with, just so we can feel our way into the slides, into this presentation, we need to make sure that we remember what is happening around us. What is the job market
Dr. Mazin, I think we lost your volume.
Okay, can you hear us now? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, we hear you now.
You hear us? Are you okay so far?
Yes, we hear.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Let me just see if this, I'll raise the volume up. Just bear with me. Is this better? Just double checking.
Yes, clear, doctor.
Fantastic. Okay, so let me quickly share with you some of the latest updates around us. So everybody knows that the rise of a new power around in the globe, right? BRICS is an organization that has joined in or started with the collaboration of 5 major countries: Brazil, Russia, India, South Africa, and China. And now there is a lot of expansion or plans to expand this organization to include new players in the market or in the globe. How does this keep us thinking, or how does this impact us, especially in the area of job market? These countries that form this organization have a potential population mass or population mix of over 3 billion people, right? They control over 40% of the GDP of the world. So they have a lot of production and manufacturing, which means there will be a huge increase potential in investments in digital infrastructure. There's a lot of technological advancement and innovation, knowledge share. There's going to be an expanded industry coverage and access, addressing economic challenges, international collaboration and diplomacy. How does this going to help us prepare ourselves to an ever mixing or ever changing job market? Again, the rise of the BRICS bloc, right? How is that going to help us or make us update our skills or skill up ourselves to actually be prepared for an industry that is actually becoming more and more multinational, more and more diversified in geography. So another aspect, obviously, there is a lot of potential and hope and plans to make the Middle East the new Europe or the new power hub. There is a lot of digitization. The recent news, His Highness, the Crown Prince in Dubai, actually launching the digital strategy and its targets, obviously to open up a sector of over $27 billion. There has been also some great announcements and potential opportunities coming out from the Saudi Arabia, China, or the Arab-China summit that took place in Saudi Arabia. So there's a lot of movement that is happening around us. A lot of news about India becoming the most populous country or subcontinent in the world, and how this will impact our markets. So again, we need to make sure that we are cognizant of what is happening around us. That's why I want to obviously plan and think about make you think about the forces that shape our future. So if you look at the VUCA paradigm and what are some of the actual volatility, the ambiguity, the complexity, and the uncertainty that you will see in our economies across the globe. You will find that these are 6 or 5 different driving forces according to an amazing publication by PwC called The Workforce of the Future. I invite you to go through it and read this publication, and I've cited this publication for you on this slide. Technological breakthroughs, this has become the name of the game. We are seeing now a lot of AI, a lot of breakthroughs, especially in industries that are influencing the speed of AI adoption. If you look at the semiconductor industry and the story of companies like NVIDIA, or some of those semiconductor manufacturing companies in Taiwan or Netherlands, there are huge demand on expertise in the semiconductor industries, and obviously its impact on the speed and the acceleration of adoption of AI. Demographic shifts, there's a lot of reconstruction and countries that are coming out of turmoil and crisis, and now they are trying to plan a huge drive to reconstruct and redevelop the countries. We're looking at it across Africa, Middle East, and some countries in Asia. There's a huge demographic shift, and the kind of the power of digital that brings us also virtually, and how people are actually shifting into global economic power, such as the rise of BRICS and huge economic powers that are actually becoming more and more competitive in the global market. And then the resources scarcity and the climate change mandates. Very important article, and I keep referring to this report because I drive most of the second slide as well from there, where you look at the destiny that is being shaped by these forces. Our business is being divided into 4 different, I'd say, quadrants. I mean, there are obviously the business fragmentation, where you are seeing the rise of startups, and small is powerful. Larger businesses lose their dominance as customers seek relevance. And collectiveness, the rise of also collectiveness, where fairness and equity dominates. Individualism, where me first rules as well. We see companies and organizations in that area. And then you see also the corporate integration, where big businesses rules all. Maybe in this, with this slide, I would like to ask the second question that I have for you in my Slido, and I want to make it personal. I want to ask you a personal question, and feel free to be anonymous and answer that question. How many of you have lost your job at least once in your lifetime? I want to hear from you. I want to hear your thoughts. And again, I want to give you an idea why I'm asking this question, because again, being part of the works of the future, that might be the norm, where you are subjected to smaller job intervals rather than large or longer job contracts. And that's why I want to map this to another slide later on that talks about the gig economy. You've seen the Great Depression back in the 50s. We've heard the Great Resignation after COVID. We've never heard of anything like that, where actually corporations and companies are running to restaff themselves after as they are coming out of COVID. So again, the job market has been subjected to a lot of turbulence and forces that are pushing and pulling the way we think of jobs and the concepts of jobs. So you can see our audience are almost 55%. I mean, it's coming to, 50% of the audience on average have lost a job at least once in their lifetime. And I'd like you to share your thoughts, because I want you later on to share your experiences, perhaps in your in the comments, or on your in your feedback forms, or perhaps when you are actually writing, if you like, personally to me, to share with me your experience as well. So again, I can see the numbers are fluctuating, but I see a lot of people actually are still secure in their job. They haven't lost a job in their lifetime. They might have been moving jobs, but never had been subjected to actually be made redundant. Again, very good. So, and this is a very interesting statistic. Please do join us. I know we have around 130 participants. I can only get 40 participants in the poll. Please do actually jump on the poll, put your thoughts. It's a yes or no. Excellent. I'm gonna monitor this, so keep this running. I will remind you of the actual link just again, so you can actually join us in this poll. You can answer in the chat. I see some answers in the chat, but please use the poll. I've just put the link. It's very important for you to express your thoughts, because again, I want to make sure that these slides are relevant to you. Okay, so moving on. So, and again, I like to also make it relevant to you, because you might have been working in the blue world where corporate is king, but then you have actually made a move to the yellow world where you are talking about companies who are focused on humans first, or onto the red world where innovation rules, some of those startups that are actually very small and agile. And again, some startups have been also going through some tough period, because startups in some countries has generated economies of over 50, for example, 1 billion euro in countries like Estonia. They are generating 50,000 job vacancies in countries like Estonia. But startups in America have been also been impacted because of some of the banking irregularities or some of the de-evaluation that they've actually been witnessing. So startups and startup economies have been also a huge driver for employment and transition of people from corporate world into the startup communities. And also recently we're looking, there is a huge push to the green organization, the green companies, the social responsibilities based company, or the social entrepreneurship based companies, where they are looking at climate and change and sustainability, the ESG mandate. So it's very interesting to look at where you are sitting in this compass, and how do you actually navigate your career. Let me just quickly check. I see around 50-50. I get 64 respondents to my poll. I love you to join and continue putting your answer if you have lost your job in once at least in the previous life. What we're also seeing in companies like Deloitte, some research companies, or Big Four companies that are publishing a lot of research and content in the area of the trends. What are some of the trends that we are seeing in digital? And again, some of them shifting dynamics are moving towards more artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, more core modernization, and more hyper automation, more cloud first and cloud based strategies. Blockchain is coming into the scene as well as we move into 2023. So it's very important to analyze this tech trends report that Deloitte has come up with in the last few years, and see how are the changes affecting the way organizations work. And in this slide, you can see some good examples of organizations that have adopted more and more digitization, more and more automation and whatnot. Cybersecurity, specifically in the rise of AI, how is this gonna change our ways? Everybody's using ChatGPT now, and all the different AI tools that are coming up that are speeding our access to data and access to knowledge. Very interesting. Companies like airlines are moving into more and more patient experience passenger experience driven applications and mobile apps, the use of, for example, facial recognition software to speed up your immigration processes, and that is visible now and evident in the airport. If you travel out of Dubai or into Dubai, you'll see that more and more. So again, the changing dynamics in digital transformation is driving this huge revolution. We are moving closer and closer to the next industrial revolution, where we are seeing the distance between industrial revolutions are becoming smaller and smaller, where we jump revolution after revolution without the need to actually wait a longer period of time. The project economy, the rise of project economy, the rise of exponential and circular frameworks and exponential economies, where we are seeing huge response and huge agility in the area of exposure to VUCA. All the volatility we're seeing, the uncertainty, the complexity, and the ambiguity we're seeing around us in the geopolitical landscape. Transformation is being driven on a very accelerated base. And hence, you see now the rise of concepts like project economy, or even the focus on gig economy, where companies like, for example, GuidePoint, and I advise you to go and register a profile in guidepoint.com, where you see now you are offering your services, your capabilities to organization through freelancing platforms and portals for short-term contracts. And this is the actual huge transformation we're seeing, the rise of these gig economy driven companies. So if you take me back, where do I see the most important skill set that you as a workforce of the future should have in your wardrobe of skills? Leadership is very key, by the way. The concept of project economy was founded and published back in Harvard Business Review to emphasize the point that by 2027, there's going to be around 88 million people working in the area of project management around the world in one way or another. This might reach up to $20 trillion worth of economic activity. So the concept of how the project economy will be growing shows us that there is a huge focus and drive towards projectizing, not organizations only, but projectizing economy. And we are seeing that in Singapore, Saudi Arabia, and countries like Botswana and Rwanda, where the government affairs are run in agile or traditional project methodologies. Research shows that 35% of the projects normally are achieve success, right? 35%. Right? That shows that there is still a lot of work to be done to actually improve the success rates of our project implementation. And there's a fantastic course on Coursera that looks at strategy, design, and implementation, bridging the gap. This is a very good course that has been orchestrated by one of our project management gurus, Ricardo Varghese. And he has been instrumental in trying to put in the thought leadership in bringing project strategy, design, and implementation. And now the huge focus on how you implement AI to drive project management efficiency and effectiveness. This is one of the slides that I wanted to share with you today. There was a huge summit called the Arabian Business Leadership Summit that happened a few days ago. And they kept talking about leadership going beyond age, beyond gender, beyond titles, where leadership is so important to the success of economies, of governments, of projects and companies. So you as an individual leader would make you become a role model in this workforce of the future and become disjointed to actually any sort of corporate contracts. You become a hidden gem where people seek your skill set, seek your competencies, and you become a center focus for the labor market. Rather than you run after vacancies, actually you invite activities and contracts and allow yourself to become more entrepreneurial. Some of the steps that I wanted to share with you from this conference is the 7 steps to profitability. And again, this can be applicable on a company level or an individual level, as well as on a governmental level or on an enterprise level. So it's very important to have a North Star, right? A guiding North Star, or an objective or a goal that actually could take you to the future state. This should not be put alone, but should be also catered for with a culture that drives harmony, that drives teamwork, a strategy that needs to be clear in its vision and mission, people and the team. Most of the startups that I mentor focus on the team fabric, on the people and the skill set that is being selected in the core team. And then the customer has to be at the heart of your activities, a customer-driven strategy, customer success management strategy, and then a proposition, a value proposition, or a unique selling proposition that allows you to distinguish yourself, and then an immaculate execution. What I like you to also remember, the 3 motivators on how to achieve leadership on a personal level. It has to be ranging from these 3 different vehicles: mastery, autonomy, purpose, and these could vary between from one person to another. You don't have to actually achieve 100% mastery, but you can actually be an empowering leader, or as they call it, a humble servant leader. But you also have to be guided by a purpose or a North Star. So you attract people around you by giving them purpose. So, and again, a couple of frameworks that I've seen in some of the onboarding literature that are adopted in some companies like GE or McKinsey. There is a book called the McKinsey Engagement, and they focus on the team framework that allows people to actually build autonomous and effective team groups or team structure. The focus framework that allows people to start converging and diverging when it comes to brainstorming and solving problems. And it's very important to heed these frameworks as you become more and more engraved in achieving success and driving excellence. So what I wanted to share with you, the difference between managing and leading. And this is very important. You can be both, by the way. It depends on the situation and the circumstances. And it's very important to adhere to some of those descriptive elements and items that I'm sharing with you in order for you to achieve success. So if I take you in the last 15 minutes to the workforce of the future main principles, then I'm going to start with how can you become a leader to drive project implementation or project execution, successful project execution. Obviously, according to Prosci and basically the literature that comes with change management, leadership is a #1 success driver for any execution of any project or any strategy. This is what we call the ABCs of leadership. Actively and visibly participate. And I always remind you, active listening is a huge skill set for leaders. You can always do what you are always going to be the kind of leader, you're going to go your way or the highway, right? And that leadership does not always succeed in driving purpose. When you are actually not listening, and how do you demonstrate listening? By acting. So actively listen or actively participate. To become a leader in your own status, you cannot rely on assumptions. It's very critical to heed this message. Assumptions could drive your leadership style into disaster. That's #1. #2, building coalition. Always listen to your stakeholder, the voice of your stakeholders, And it's very important to build that coalition. And then number 3, communication. I used to work with somebody who actually used to love using emails, write long emails. But sometimes when you are talking to different people from different backgrounds, one form of communication might not be sufficient. Not because you have been working in global organization, do you expect everybody to understand your form of communication. So you sometimes need to pick up the phone and resolve conflicts using the phone. You can actually send a voice message, send a WhatsApp message, or send an email, or a combination of all those different ways of communication. When you are looking at conflict resolution, communication and verbal face-to-face communication sits at the heart of it. And I hope that you heed this message as well. Conflicts is part of our nature. Conflicts is actually part of every human to human interaction. And the ability to resolve conflict is part of your skill set. Let me also share with you an amazing influencer in LinkedIn. His name is Andre Taylor, and he writes a lot in the area of sustainability leadership. And why am I mentioning this? Because again, it's a very great concept when you look at, for example, our preparation for COP28. The concept of sustainability has become engraved in all our activities, whether it's our organizational strategy or our departmental operation plan or our individual career growth plan. So how do you become a sustainable leader, or how sustainability-driven leader? You have 6 important elements. From worldview and making sure that you have some sort of a knowledge sphere that allows you to see around you out of the box and see what's happening around you. The ability to build a network of stakeholders that you can cross boundaries when you bring in mentors, coaches, stakeholders, followers from different types of backgrounds. And then break boundaries, making sure that you also break boundaries between your team and your stakeholders. Make sure that you drive influence, and then you are able to deal with complexity. The concept of self-leadership, not just for you to be a self-driven leader, but you to make sure that you also clone others to become self-leaders, self-autonomous. You being the only leader that everybody is dependent on does not make you successful always. You breeding other leaders and combining your skill set to actually create leaders around you make you more successful in your endeavor. Another influencer by the name of Frank Kumley, I advise you to also follow him on LinkedIn, speaks about the different driving forces and how we become close in our skill set and our strategy to the social, environmental, and economic drivers. How can we actually become cognizant of what's happening around us economically, socially, and environmental, as these 3 different elements would allow us to attain more and more skills, more market compliant or market relevant skills. On the right-hand side, there was a fantastic report that came out of the World Economic Forum in 2023, and it's titled The Future of Job Report. The Future of Jobs Report. They list the 10 most important skills of 2023. And this is very key, guys. You can download this report for free, and you can actually go into more detail. But I want to pay attention to the following piece. If you look at, let me just remove this. Sorry, I'm just trying to get that bar. Yeah. If you look at the first, and let me get 1 second. I'm just trying to see. Yeah, there you go. So let me get a pen. If you look at this area, what are the key drivers of job change? You'll see that the green transition and the ESG mandate, the technology and its impact, and economic outlook. According to the report, these are the three main drivers for job change. And there has been a survey that actually came out and said 44% of the workers' core skills are expected to change in the next 5 years. And this is very important, guys, because the top 10 skills is based on the research that was done. Number 1 and 2 are actually what we call cognitive skill, analytical thinking and creative thinking, which actually gives you a bit of indication how this is linked to your emotional intelligence. Analytical thinking and creative thinking is not an individual skill set, it's a collective skill set where you have to do it with a team. So to build trust, to actually enact and demonstrate analytical and creative thinking, you would require a team fabric that you can grow and nurture. And the other skill set that you see in the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th level is mostly self-efficacy skill set. They are like resilience, driving resilience, agility, and flexibility, motivation. And by the way, self-motivation in turbulent times is an engine for positive energy and positive inner power. Curiosity and lifelong learning, very important skill set. In the end of the slides, I will leave you with a slide that shows you the top 23 skill set of 2023 according to this report. In the last few slides in transformation of the workforce, I'm gonna remind you of how the workplace has transformed us to become more and more flexible and autonomous in the way we do our business. This is another report that I invite you to read. It's called What is the Future of Work? And it looks at how the talent market has changed from a traditional model to an open framework model, where you look at gig workers and crowdsourcing being used for achieving activities and assignments and projects. This is very key, guys, the way that the talent market works because of the scarcity and the economic turbulence that we're seeing. Also, don't forget the workplaces are shifting from a physical interaction to a virtual interaction, a distributed model, where we are seeing a lot of hybrid interactions now. And again, this gives us a lot of skill sets that we need to grow and maintain as we go into this horizon. And hence, one of the amazing reports that I want to reference today is the Pulse of the Profession out of Project Management Institute. And it's very important because it defines the workforce of the future and its impact on the way we use, the way that we are using technology, automation, and AI, how the gig economy is transferring the way we work in this era or in this futuristic era. It looks at the service sector and all the turbulence that we are seeing, the banking sector turbulence. Aviation was hit badly during COVID, but they are recovering hugely. Hospitality is taking a huge exponential growth at the moment. Healthcare and tech industries are being hit slightly with a bit of layoff here and layoffs there. So again, the way we are operating ourselves as workforce of the future would actually make you susceptible and agile in the way you deal with job losses. No longer do you need to fear that. Perhaps you need to build that into your career growth plan. If you look at the power skills that has been mentioned in the Pulse in the Profession, they focus on 4 major power skills: communication, problem solving, collaborative leadership, and strategic thinking. And I'd invite you to go through it in detail, because this 14th edition does give you a huge kind of ammunition to face the uncertainty that we see in the job market. Some of the most important key drivers to succeed in project implementation rotates around those 10 elements from the same report. How power skills could drive project success, it could be seen in the 10 elements of driving success. The 10 elements of driving project success sits within the benefit realization and the ability for you to communicate that into your organization or to your stakeholders. The way that you manage your scope and bring in more controls to lower score creep. How frequent do you standardize your risk management practices? And how do you build this into your AI modeling, if you like? What is your stakeholder engagement plans, and how frequent do you actually bring their expectations and their thoughts and concerns into your execution plan? How agile is your organization, and how much do you contribute to increasing the agility of your organization? Makes you an attractive talent in the job market. And then the remaining 5 that talks about performance monitoring, and how do you increase the performance of your departmental specific PMOs, or organizational specific, the project management skill set and tools and maturity of using it within your organization. How do you actually monitor, place your KPIs? What are the metric and the quality measures that you need to put in? And then the adherence to those success factors. In the same report, it gives you a 5-step prioritization guideline, where you can, in any organization, if you follow those 5 steps, this will enhance your ability to bring in power skills to your team, to your workforce, and enhance your success rates when it comes to implementing your projects and executing your strategies. In conclusion, and I have like 1.5 minutes to go. The future of employment is being radicalized, is being disrupted completely. And I want you to read this PwC survey that looks at the fact that 60% of the survey participants, which is around 10,000 members, by the way, across different countries in China, Germany, India, and UK, as well as US, they say that 60% think that few people will have stable and long-term employment in the future, guys. So don't be disheartened when you lose a job or you are actually made redundant, because this opens up now when you become exposed to crisis. That's when you become the most innovative. Survivability goes into 100% drive. So don't fall into your comfort zone. My advice to you, do not ever fall into your comfort zone. And I'm speaking to those guys who said they have never lost a job, 49%. Make sure that you keep looking and keep updating your skill set, keep visiting your previous stakeholders, expanding your network, use your LinkedIn to expand your content, because 60% of the people will not be stable in the next will be not stable in the next few years. And I say they will be exposed to short-term endeavors and less stability in the work career or the career journey, which is again part of life and part of you becoming more skilled and more agile. So I will invite you to read this report. I also always remind you to visit Gartner. Some of those big 4 reports are very vital in giving you the knowledge and the expertise and the content that you need to use in order to upskill yourself. Gartner publishes an amazing report and a series of webinars on strategic technology trends every year. And they talk to you about what are the latest trends, what should you focus on to become more and more market attractive talent. And then finally, the World Economic Forum, with their report is called Reskilling and Upskilling, or sorry, the report is actually the future of workforce, looks at the reskilling and upskilling capability. You should look at those skill sets. This is the top 26 skill sets that they've been surveying and they've been actually monitoring. They are seeing how these skill sets are actually climbing up the ladder to become more and more important between the year of 2023 to the year of 2027. And maybe I want to ask another question. How many of you, if you can allow me to ask this question, guys, how many or which generation do you belong to? Because I want to hear from you. What sort of generation do you belong to? When were you born? Are you from the Alpha generation or the Gen Z generation? Again, Alpha and Gen Z are more susceptible to smaller and shorter job lifespans rather than the millennials or the baby boomers, let's say, who are very accustomed to 20, 30 years at one job or at a company. But this might not be the norm in this corporate corporate or this economy that are driven by corporate instability. As companies run after profitability, the damage goes into the workforce, or the losses are always incurred within the workforce. So this has become an inevitable part of our life, becoming and securing our career growth despite our despite the volatility, the ambiguity, the uncertainty, and the complexity that we see in the different industries. Do we go and work with corporates in the blue world? Do we think about green companies, or shall we jump into startup economies and visit those human first companies? So if you look at the number of participants who are actually answering the questions, I see that 55% are actually considered Gen Y or millennials. We have a few who are Gen Z, 2%, who are born between the years of 1997 and 2012. Baby boomers, we have a very few baby boomers, none from Alpha. And again, this signifies the importance of becoming career focused, the importance of reskilling and upskilling, the importance of becoming turbulent free individuals, or career driven professionals. Despite the fact that you are facing complexity in the labor market, in the workforce market, you are continuing to plod along, update your skills, and move to the next phase of your life. Very good. So thank you for answering. Continue answering, because we'll come back to it as I close the slides. Own your destiny and master your growth. This is an important article that came in this morning by an amazing influencer in LinkedIn called Bernard Marr. Talks about mastering the art of communication. What are the 12 tips that you need to have to ensure success in the digital world, right? Listening is an important skill, number one skill, without any competition. Obviously, he has some particular advice when it comes to detaching yourself from the phone, having that human-to-human interaction, telling a story, and the way you actually engage your audience, over-communicating, I like that, recapping information, especially after you go through meetings or you are actually doing one-to-ones with your mentors or coaches or clients, acknowledging that communicating remotely is different than communicating in person, and how you can bring both into your skill set, into your technique to actually work with your clients, using the right communication tool with the right task, or a combination of communication tools when you are dealing with conflict. Or where possible, embrace video. And again, the use of video in our virtual meetings is some of the tips that he has seen, or one of the tips he has seen as important in the success of the digital world. So with this, I want to thank you all. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry for going over time, but I'd like you to ask any question that you have. And if I have the answer, I'll share it. If not, I'll get back to you on it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mazin. For sure, there are a lot of attendees here who learned a lot from you, especially that you threw the question of whether they or we have lost our job before or not. And I think it's a split, no? 49-51. So these are all, what is the final? Yeah, 49-51. So yeah, Dr. Mazin, a few key takeaways from me. We own our destiny and we master our growth. And there are also key drivers for change, which are green transition, the technology, and the economic outlook. Further, there's a tech trend that you shared. Tech trends would look more on IT, hyper-automation, cloud-based, blockchain, and AI. So the question is, where do we go from here, Dr. Mazin? And giving that question as well, there's a question from Benil. So my question would be, where do we go from here? So Benil asks, how do we pick the right career?
That's a very good question. So, look, I mean, I think one of the most important tools that you need to focus on is LinkedIn. LinkedIn allows you to expose yourself to many people and a growing network of people, right? There are two C's, I say, in LinkedIn. If it doesn't grow, there is no use for you to use LinkedIn. You have to grow your connection and your content. The first C is for connection, the second C for your content. How do I choose my career? It depends on what are the areas that you feel like you want to jump in. And this comes from you sitting with your mentors and coaches, sitting with your career advisors, those friends and people that you look up to, those who you follow on LinkedIn. And I emphasize LinkedIn because LinkedIn is an important tool for your career growth in this day and age. How many conferences have you attended, and what industries do you feel that you are drawn towards? Some people say, Mazin, I like physics. What shall I do? Shall I jump into semiconductors, or do I do a master's of business administration and become more closer to business related activities? Again, it depends on the area that you want to venture in, the mentors and the coaches that you have who would actually help you guide yourself into your career. I never thought I will come into healthcare. I'm an engineer by background. I did my PhD in quantum electronics and nanotechnology, but I found myself into healthcare for the last 23 years. Did I choose healthcare? No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Does it have a purpose for me? It does. I think I do a good job if I'm saving lives. Healthcare is a complex industry, and there is a lot of requirement and job needs in healthcare. There is always a need. Healthcare is number one national security after COVID has hit us. So you see a lot of the tech companies that are laying people off, most of those laid off people are coming into healthcare. So it's an industry that keeps absorbing people. This is my opinion. But somebody that I like, for example, somebody that I work with might say, listen, Mazin, I like aviation. It's a growing industry, and I want to jump into that, and I want to build in my skill set in aviation. By all means, the beauty of the day and age that we live in is that you become industry agnostic. You grow your skills, and based on the time and the day that you are living or where you are, and it depends on the crisis that you are facing, you can switch industries, because now we becoming industry agnostic is one other safety net for you as we are facing turmoil, we are facing uncertainty, ambiguity, volatility, and complexity. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. That is actually, or in fact, that has answered a few more of the questions in the Q&A. So those who are asking about career path, new journey to different industries, given the VUCA world, I hope Dr. Mazin has answered that. Dr. Mazin, can we request you to unshare the screen so we see you full screen?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah,
I just want to pose one question before I unshare, and I'd like you to just pose it, and I will leave you with the link, but I will share it right now. Unshare it right now. Yes.
Okay, sure. To the attendees, please evaluate this session. There's another question here, Doctor.
Yes, go ahead.
This is from Daniel again. So being a multi-talented will not help. We need a minimum of 3 to 5 professional skills. So I'm also looking actually of the different types of corporations. You have the blue, the yellow, the red, green. We even have the startup economies. So in terms of the startup economies, even that area is becoming not a blue ocean anymore. It's becoming a red ocean. A lot of people are trying to build their companies, building a startup companies rather than becoming entrepreneurs. So how do we, even as employees or entrepreneurs, how do we swim into this ocean?
The very good question. Start with baby steps. Make sure that you have started something, find a team that you can work with, and you like to start a small area of that you want to venture in. So for example, if you like to do some events, start an event management company with 4 or 5 people that you can trust. Start something small that you enjoy with a group of people. And in this, I emphasize the team, because you cannot do one thing. I mean, you cannot start on your own. You have the capability of gathering few people together and start a small business, even if it's a small investment by you and those group of people, to feel the water with something that you like. If it's events management, if it's a barber shop, if it's a small laundry shop, if it's a consultancy service, if it's a training management company. I always say start small and start simple and start collectively with a few people that you trust and who can share the same vision as you. And do it while you are at your job, at your day job. Now the laws in the United Arab Emirates are increasingly becoming less restrictive because of the volatility of the economy, you know, allowing people to do business, to start smaller activities on the side, start freelancing, for example. There are companies that are actually set up like guidepoint.com, and you can actually jump and start advertising your profile and do smaller activities if your time permits.
Yes, and be creative and innovative, no? Try to innovate as well. In terms, Abhijit asked here, in what ways can emerging technologies such as AI automation be harnessed to empower workers rather than replacing them?
I mean, I will never think AI will replace everybody. That's number one, right? It will replace redundant activities. But AI is there for you to utilize immediately. And for example, now I use ChatGPT. If you have a task of preparing a presentation, ChatGPT is a masterful tool for you to speed up the preparation of that presentation, allowing you to present more frequently and to a far much wider audience, if you like, because you have a tool that can help you build presentations, right? So AI, the use of AI has become part of our, I'm not saying is still to become, it has already become part of our way of working, way of thinking. The use of ChatGPT in itself has become remarkable.
And you know, it is not about us being replaced by the AI, but working side by side by them. And even if AI, you think AI would replace your job, think about other jobs as well that are emerging because of the presence of the AI. Because some jobs are becoming obsolete. There's AI, new jobs will emerge. Try to grab these opportunities.
Absolutely. So there is a series, by the way, by Ricardo Vargas and Antonio Rodriguez. Antonio Nieto, yes. And they are talking about the AI will not be replaced, because now I mean, it will not be able to replace a lot of people, because AI itself is going to be requiring concepts like emotional intelligence, or taking whatever the AI would actually bring you in terms of information and be able to communicate that and build on top of that, because the analytical thinking and the creative thinking cannot be done by AI. And that's why the top two skills that was mentioned in World Economic Forum is analytical and creative thinking.
Yeah, and Dr. I'll throw the last question, although I may say that there are about 7 more questions. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time. I will just choose one. Which data set, because you showed a lot of research and studies by Gartner, PwC, okay, and Deloitte as well. Which data set would you rely if we have too much cohesive data? Mostly changes as global industrial group controls. How do we trust the internet source data, although we have regulators?
Very good. So look, one of the biggest pandemics we saw on COVID is infodemic. Data reliability, right? Data integrity. I think the reliability comes from the resources that you actually utilize. So for example, I mean, that's one of the questions that came in the use of ChatGPT, referenceability of the data that gets marked. Again, going back old-fashioned and using reports that gets published by very well-known educational institutions or research institutions like Big Four, Deloitte, PwC, KPMG, McKinsey, BCG, what we call the MBBs. MBBs is the McKinsey, BCG, and Booz Allen Hamilton, or the research institutes like IDC, Gardner, and so on and so forth, gives you more reliable data. World Economic Forum publishes quite a lot of data as well. So I would definitely rely, I mean, you will always have to cross-reference some of the data that you look at, especially if you're using normal internet Google searches or whatever. But again, more and more tools like AI, ChatGPT are becoming referenceable or reference-driven tools to allow more authenticity when it comes to data. You'll always have to make sure that you measure and qualify the data that you look at. If you can confirm the sources, World Economic Forum, or research centers that you can rely on, like Harvard Business Review and whatnot, then you can build credibility from there. But sometimes you probably need to cross-reference and qualify some of the data.
Yes, not only that, even, people are being morphed to speak as if they are speaking these words, but in fact, they are not. Also, be careful about those videos. So, again, Dr. Mazin, it is our great pleasure to have you. There are other questions that we cannot answer. This shows a lot of interest on your talk, and we really value your time. So, as we close this webinar tonight, I would like to thank all of you, our attendees, for your participation, especially in joining the poll and the surveys thrown by Dr. Mazin. We won't say goodnight without saying thank you to the rest of the PMI UAE chapter volunteers who are always behind the success of the webinars. This includes our unique colleagues from the membership, the outreach, volunteering, finance, and governance. So until our next webinar, together with my events colleagues and our brother behind the camera, Amir Ali, on behalf of our director of events, Bavin Lad, this is Irene Corpus, wishing you all again a pleasant evening. And thank you once again, Dr. Mazin. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. See you soon.
See ya.